Just how far would you follow somebody who claimed to know a path to spiritual enlightenment?
For some people in the Twin Cities, that path leads through a 65-year-old Minnetonka woman. A lawsuit filed last month has put a spotlight on her and her business. Here's Tom Lydon of the Fox 9 Investigators.
Among the caravan of food trucks in the Twin Cities, you'll find one that claims, with a wink, to be bad to the bone. The Bad Rooster, offering wings, hot sauces, and silly puns. Co-owner Solaire Alleray calls herself the chief mother clucker.
We've been dealing with this for 15 years, and I don't know why we've been quiet about it.
But for two sisters, Kelly Abadi and Angela Hummelgard, there's more going on here than spicy chicken. They believe their 70-year-old mother, Mary Ring, sometimes works in the food truck, but they've rarely seen or heard from her in the last 15 years.
As far as I know, she's the oldest person who works on the food truck.
So when the Bad Rooster, announced a few weeks ago, was on hiatus after a death in the family, the sisters feared the worst.
Is this it? Is this really how we're gonna hear that she passed?
So I sent a couple messages just saying, I'm so sorry for your loss. Can you just let me know if this was my mother?
Finally, 6 days later, a message back.
We can't share any personal information. Please cease and desist. And the text message from my mother, which ultimately confirmed she was still alive because she was sending me a text message, was this kind of long rant about how I had no right to ask about her. And I was getting a taste of my own medicine.
The sisters say their mother changed 15 years ago after she joined a group called Soulful Journey. Its leader, Solaire Alleray from the food truck, who is formerly known as Lynn Young.
I'm a life strategist, coach, you name it, I've done it, and I've done stupid.
On YouTube, she serves up a word salad of new age self-help platitudes.
Unique is a gift, and that's what I really want you to learn. It's learning to strategize with your life, figure out how you move forward, and, find a way of self-loving yourself again.
Hello, this is G. Welcome to the Inner Sanctuary.
But go deeper, former members say, and you'll discover Solaire also claims to channel spiritual beings from other dimensions, including one known as G.
This is that place where mind, ego, me does not exist.
The group operates out of the Soulful Journey Wellness Center in Minnetonka, which also offers massage, hypnosis, and someone who can talk to animals. Former members say this is where Solaire conducts her channeling sessions, which can last late into the night. It's also the registered address of their 501c3 nonprofit, Living Faith Spiritual Community. And according to public records, the registered address for more than a dozen businesses and LLCs associated with the group or its members. There's even a video game company called Minnetonka Town, where a zookeeper tries to capture monkeys.
The townspeople, there's something veiled underneath it all, and sometimes, just when you think you can trust somebody, you can't.
Kelly knows the feeling. Along with her mother, she was a member of Soulful Journey for a year when she was 17 and struggling with addiction.
People were in very vulnerable places when they joined. I would say my mother was in a vulnerable place.
Angela attended one of the G channeling sessions in Minnetonka.
This is the place where I am God.
I'm kind of looking around like, am I being punked right now?
But their mother, Mary, thought Solaire and G were the real deal. Within a year, Mary was divorcing her husband and leaving her old life behind. Despite a significant divorce settlement, she declared bankruptcy a few years ago and legally changed her name this year to Sienna LaJoy. Angela last saw her mother 11 years ago when she agreed to lunch at Mall of America.
Because I almost felt like for her it was a goodbye, even though she didn't say that. I'm sorry. We never really talked to her after that. She skipped my sister's wedding. She stopped celebrating Christmas.
She has no association with anyone that was in her life for the first 55 years of her life.
No association.
None. Friends, coworkers, extended family.
So Kelly called out Bad Rooster on Facebook last month, saying the food truck and Solaire use the funds they earn to support a cult, asking people to think twice before supporting them. Solaire responded to the allegations with a video on Facebook.
We were attacked. We have a lawyer. Our lawyers are on it.
A couple weeks later, Bad Rooster and Solaire slapped the sisters with a lawsuit, alleging defamation and civil conspiracy, demanding a retraction.
It's not just us. There's other families.
This is not our sister. This is not Sue at all.
But the Facebook post had already gone viral, reaching Sarah and Grace in Michigan, who haven't talked to their sister Sue since she joined Soulful Journey a decade ago, changing her name to Askia Lumine. What do you think's going on with her?
I think she's been brainwashed.
I think brainwashed, yeah.
The Fox 9 investigators talked to a half-dozen former followers or estranged family who shared remarkably similar stories.
I have been thinking for years about going public about this, but I've been very afraid that my story alone would not be enough to convince anybody that this was real.
Faye West, who now lives in London, lived with the group for 3 years as a teenager. She left the day after she turned 18.
How would you describe this theology? Or is it a theology?
To be honest, I struggled to describe it when I was in the group. Like, it became further and further from reality. In the beginning, I viewed it more as, I guess, meditation and positive thinking, like I was saying, but it very much became, like, once I was a teenager and stuff, rooted in and much more tied to the fact that Solaire was a channel and was channeling God.
Faye says Solaire channeled historical figures too, like Jesus and King Solomon, and told group members they had spirit identities in a parallel dimension called the 99.
They used this realm, the 99, to build a kind of another reality. So, for instance, I was their daughter in the 99. And this just kind of became a tool for them to change your identity, take away sort of your autonomy, and claim that things are happening in the 99 and they use those to control you on Earth.
Members would legally change their name to match those identities in the 99. The Fox 9 investigators identified 15 legal name changes within the group.
For a bit there, I was willing to suspend disbelief around some of those things, but it started to get pretty weird.
Nicholas Johnson, his sister, and mother Rayla were in Soulful Journey for more than a decade.
I realized that I had to get out when I felt like I'd rather die than stay. We were told that they weren't our children, really. That in another dimension, the dimension 99, which sounds so foolish, but hey, here we are, that they were their kids.
Her life did a complete 180 again, a massive shift towards only the group.
John Gopal's sister, Katie, left a full-ride PhD program in psychology and moved to Minnesota 15 years ago to join Soulful Journey. Once incredibly close, he hasn't talked to his sister in 7 years, but messaged her on Facebook a few weeks ago. She asked him not to contact her through social media.
So you fear someone's monitoring her communications?
Absolutely, yeah. She said many things that sounded like she was brainwashed. She kept repeating the phrase, "I'm following my desires. I need you to be happy for me."
This is the kind of thing I hear from families consistently over 4 decades.
David Clark's been analyzing and researching cults for 40 years. At the request of the Fox 9 investigators, he reviewed material and teachings from Soulful Journey. He says Soulful Journey checks many of the boxes used to describe cult-like activity.
What concerns me when it gets cult-like, there's a totalistic takeover of the person's life. This is the #1 encounter you have with families that run into trouble with this. They notice that relationships of a lifetime are being cut off. Not only that, but you have an effective communicator that knows how to make it stick to the ribs.
Clark says there's often a price to be paid for such a group, quite literally. Former members tell us classes cost $150 per week, G-channeling sessions anywhere from $40 to $150. And there were trips, like this one to the Bahamas, that could cost members $5,000 to $6,000.
She creatively kind of categorized money in various ways, like, oh, well, these are donations to my church. This is money for educational expenses. This is money for, trips.
Then there's the overlapping businesses, LLCs, charity work, and the nonprofit. Where and how the money flows was always unclear, according to former members, who say they weren't always paid appropriately for their labor.
I was never paid a dime for anything that I did.
The financial side of it, especially with new age groups, they tend to be very lucrative. They know how to make money. They also know how to protect the money that they make.
Solaire Alleray declined an interview. Instead, she hired a crisis manager who released a statement that said, in part, the personal attacks on social media are patently false and solely designed to harm Solaire Alleray and Bad Rooster because of the tremendous success and goodwill they have earned over the years.
Much easier to point the finger at Solaire and scapegoat it instead of saying, well, wait a minute, I had free will in all of this.
The crisis manager also offered up a Solaire supporter, Tom Reese, who said the people who talk to us are avoiding responsibility for their own lives.
I think it's unfortunate that there's a witch hunt. And quite frankly, I think he's part of that.
She loved her grandchildren. My son, she had like the most incredible relationship with.
But the families say their only agenda is wanting their loved ones back. And after waiting more than a decade, they say they have little left to lose.
I was talking with my dad today. It's like we literally, like, what would change, if she actually cut us off? She already has.
There's a lot of trauma, which is why we're speaking out, because there are so many people who are still in that trauma. And if we can get a message out to one of them, that's enough.
To be clear, I don't think that Solaire is a bad or rotten person to her core.
Do you believe she's a fraud, or do you believe she has some abilities?
Solaire has certain abilities. And I think one of her greatest abilities is to tell stories. And that can get you any number of places.
The crisis manager for Solaire Alleray claims there are no actual members of Soulful Journey and that Solaire, or G, is not channeling God, despite what her followers say and even what you may hear in the recordings. And if you listen closely to those recordings, when she says something like, I am God, it's in the context of a much longer soliloquy and could also be interpreted as talking about God within oneself. And obviously that's not a very controversial idea at all. But her followers, her former followers, I should say, believe that that's very intentional, that she keeps it vague.
You know, I'm a little hesitant to open a can of worms, but the people you talk to, when you talk to many, are they at all concerned about being sued?
Yes, and they have reason to be. In fact, in their statement, the longer version we have at myfox9.com, they threatened to do exactly that. Those former followers and the family members, though, their belief is that truth is the ultimate defense.
All right, sounds like there's likely a follow-up here, so
I would say that's likely.
There's a lot going on there.
Right.
There is a lot.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.